What happens when a soldier who sleeps through every combat exercise meets a Navy SEAL commander who refuses to give up on anyone? This is the incredible true story of transformation, determination, and the moment when everything changed for one unlikely warrior. Sometimes the greatest battles aren't fought on foreign soil, but within ourselves. Sometimes the person everyone has given up on becomes the hero no one saw coming. This is that story. Sarah Martinez had earned herself a reputation that followed her through every military base she'd ever been stationed at. It wasn't for exceptional marksmanship, outstanding leadership, or heroic acts of service. Instead, she was known as the soldier who could fall asleep anywhere, anytime, under any circumstances. Her fellow soldiers had witnessed her sleeping through thunderstorms during field exercises, snoring softly while artillery shells exploded in training scenarios, and once, memorably, dozing off while standing at attention during a particularly long inspection. The phenomenon had started during her first week of basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia. While other recruits lay awake at night, muscles aching and minds racing with anxiety about the next day's challenges, Sarah would be unconscious within minutes of her head hitting the pillow. Her drill sergeants initially thought she was faking it, testing boundaries like many young recruits do. They tried everything from sudden wake-up calls at 3 a.m. to making her do extra push-ups before bed. Nothing worked. Sarah simply had an extraordinary ability to disconnect from her surroundings and fall into deep sleep. Dr. Rebecca Chen, the base medical officer who had examined Sarah multiple times over the years, had several theories about her condition. Some soldiers developed what she called military narcolepsy as a defense mechanism against stress. The constant pressure, unpredictable schedules, and high-stakes environment could trigger the brain to shut down as a form of protection. Sarah's case was unusual because her sleep episodes seemed to occur specifically during combat exercises and high-stress training scenarios, while her performance in regular duties remained adequate. During her second year of service, Sarah was assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division. Her company was scheduled for a week-long combat simulation exercise in the mountains of North Carolina. The scenario involved defending a strategic position against simulated enemy attacks over 72 hours with minimal rest. It was designed to test soldiers' ability to function under extreme fatigue and pressure. For most soldiers, it was one of the most challenging exercises they would face in their military career. The exercise began at dawn, on a crisp October morning. Sarah's squad was positioned on a rocky outcrop overlooking a valley where the enemy forces would attempt to advance. Each soldier had been assigned specific responsibilities. Some would handle communications, others would manage ammunition supplies, and several would serve as lookouts. Sarah had been given one of the most critical jobs watching the eastern approach where intelligence suggested the main attack would come. As the sun climbed higher and the morning wore on, the other soldiers in her squad began to feel the familiar tension that comes with waiting for action. They checked and rechecked their equipment, scanned the horizon through binoculars, and whispered tactical discussions about potential scenarios they might face. The squad leader, Sergeant Tommy Rodriguez, moved between positions, offering encouragement and reminders about their objectives. Sarah had started the morning alert and focused, just like her teammates. She had prepared her observation post carefully, arranged her equipment efficiently, and seemed ready for the challenge ahead. But as the hours passed and the adrenaline of the initial deployment wore off, something familiar began to happen. Her eyelids started to feel heavy. The warm autumn sun on her face and the rhythmic sound of wind through the trees created a strangely peaceful atmosphere, despite the military exercise happening around her. By noon, when Sergeant Rodriguez made his rounds to check on each position, he found Sarah slumped against a tree, her binoculars hanging loosely around her neck, breathing the steady rhythm of deep sleep. The enemy forces had been maneuvering in the valley below for the past hour, and Sarah had missed all of it. Rodriguez felt a mixture of frustration and disbelief. This wasn't the first time he'd dealt with Sarah's sleeping problem, but the timing couldn't have been worse. The consequences of Sarah's sleeping episode extended beyond just missing enemy movements. Her squad had been counting on her observations to coordinate their defensive strategy. Without accurate intelligence from the eastern approach, they were operating blind in a crucial sector. When the simulated attack finally came that afternoon, Sarah's squad was caught off guard and quickly overrun by the opposing forces. The exercise commanders noted the failure in their reports, and Sarah's sleeping incident was documented as a contributing factor to the mission's failure. News of the incident spread quickly through the battalion. Other soldiers began referring to Sarah as Sleeping Beauty or Rip Van Martinez. The nicknames weren't entirely malicious, but they stung nonetheless. Sarah knew her fellow soldiers didn't understand what she was experiencing. She hadn't chosen to fall asleep during the exercise. In fact, she had been genuinely excited about the opportunity to prove herself. But something about the combination of stress, responsibility, and the military environment seemed to trigger an almost involuntary shutdown response. Captain James Wheeler, Sarah's company commander, called her into his office 3 days after the failed exercise. Captain Wheeler was a fair but demanding officer who took pride in developing his soldiers' potential. He had served 2 tours in Afghanistan and understood the importance of reliability and focus in military operations. Sarah's sleeping problem represented a serious liability that he couldn't ignore, especially as the company was scheduled for deployment overseas within 6 months. The conversation was uncomfortable but necessary. Captain Wheeler explained that while he recognized Sarah's dedication and her solid performance in non-combat situations, her tendency to fall asleep during critical moments made her unsuitable for certain roles. He was considering transferring her to a support position that would keep her away from operational responsibilities. The suggestion felt like a demotion to Sarah, even though Captain Wheeler framed it as finding a better fit for her skills. Sarah left the meeting feeling defeated and confused about her future in the military. She had joined the army with dreams of serving her country and proving herself as a capable soldier. Instead, she was becoming known as a liability, someone who couldn't be trusted when it mattered most. The irony wasn't lost on her that she could function perfectly well in everyday military life, organizing equipment, following orders, participating in physical training, but seemed to shut down precisely when her training was supposed to matter most. That evening, Sarah sat alone in the base cafeteria, picking at a plate of food she didn't really want. Around her, other soldiers laughed and shared stories from their own training exercises. Some talked about mistakes they'd made and lessons they'd learned. Others boasted about successful missions and impressive performances. Sarah felt like an outsider in conversations about the very activities that defined military life. Private Jennifer Walsh, a newer soldier who had recently joined Sarah's company, approached her table hesitantly. Jennifer had heard the stories about Sarah's sleeping incidents, but had also noticed that Sarah was often helpful and knowledgeable about military procedures and equipment. She was curious about the person behind the reputation and wanted to understand what was really happening with her fellow soldier. Their conversation revealed aspects of Sarah's experience that hadn't been widely discussed among the troops. Sarah described the frustration of wanting to perform well, but feeling powerless to control her body's response to stress. She explained that falling asleep wasn't a choice or a sign of laziness, but something that seemed to happen despite her best intentions. Jennifer listened without judgment and began to understand that Sarah's situation was more complex than the simple narrative of a soldier who couldn't stay awake. As winter approached and the company's deployment date drew closer, Sarah's future in the military remained uncertain. She continued with her regular duties and participated in training exercises. But there was an underlying tension about whether she would be included in the overseas deployment. Some days she felt optimistic that she could overcome her sleeping problem through willpower and determination. Other days, particularly after another incident during a night combat exercise, she wondered if she was fighting a battle she couldn't win. The night combat exercise had been particularly challenging for everyone involved. Soldiers had to navigate unfamiliar terrain in complete darkness, coordinate complex maneuvers, and respond to rapidly changing scenarios. For Sarah, the combination of physical exhaustion, mental concentration, and nighttime conditions proved overwhelming. She had fallen asleep while her team was conducting a reconnaissance mission, and they had to carry out their objectives without her input. Once again, her absence had impacted the team's performance and safety. Dr. Chen suggested that Sarah consider requesting a medical evaluation that might lead to alternative assignment, or even medical discharge. The suggestion was well-intentioned, but it felt like giving up to Sarah. She had worked hard to reach her current position in the military and wasn't ready to abandon her goals because of a problem she didn't fully understand. She wanted to find a solution rather than an escape route. During a weekend leave, Sarah visited her family in Phoenix, Arizona. Her parents, Maria and Carlos Martinez, had been supportive of her military career, but were concerned about the challenges she was facing. Her younger brother, David, was in his final year of high school and looked up to Sarah as a role model. The family dinner conversation inevitably turned to Sarah's situation and her uncertainty about the future. Carlos Martinez had served briefly in the National Guard during his 20s and understood some of the pressures Sarah was experiencing. He suggested that she might benefit from talking to other veterans who had faced similar challenges. Maria Martinez, who worked as a school counselor, wondered if there might be underlying stress or anxiety issues that could be addressed with proper support. David simply asked if there was anything he could do to help his sister figure things out. The family support meant everything to Sarah, but it also highlighted how much was at stake. She wasn't just representing herself in the military, she was carrying the hopes and pride of people who believed in her. The thought of disappointing them added another layer of pressure to an already complicated situation. At the same time, their love and encouragement reminded her that her worth as a person wasn't defined solely by her military performance. When Sarah returned to base after her weekend leave, she found herself with a renewed sense of determination. She began researching her condition more thoroughly, reading about stress responses, sleep disorders, and military psychology. She discovered that her experience wasn't entirely unique, and that other soldiers had found ways to manage similar challenges. The knowledge didn't provide immediate solutions, but it helped her feel less isolated and more hopeful about finding answers. The base library became Sarah's refuge during her free time. She read books about military history, focusing particularly on stories of soldiers who had overcome significant obstacles to achieve success. She was especially drawn to accounts of individuals who had been written off or underestimated but had eventually proved their worth. These stories provided inspiration but also highlighted how much work lay ahead if she wanted to change her trajectory. As the year drew to a close, Sarah's company received news that their deployment had been delayed by several months due to changing international circumstances. The delay provided additional training time but also extended the period of uncertainty about Sarah's role. Captain Wheeler had postponed making final decisions about her assignment, hoping that she might show improvement during the additional training period. The extended timeline felt like both an opportunity and added pressure for Sarah to prove herself. The holiday season brought a temporary break from intensive training, but Sarah used the time to continue working on understanding her situation. She reached out to military counselors, read extensively about stress management techniques, and even began practicing meditation and relaxation exercises. Her efforts were sincere, but she hadn't yet found the key to overcoming her fundamental challenge. On New Year's Eve, as fireworks lit up the sky over the base, Sarah made a resolution that would shape the months ahead. She decided that she wouldn't give up on her military career without exhausting every possible solution. She didn't yet know what form that solution might take, but she was committed to finding it. The sleeping soldier was determined to wake up. The new year brought fresh challenges and unexpected opportunities for Sarah Martinez. January marked the beginning of advanced combat training for her company, and with their deployment postponed, military leadership decided to implement an experimental training program designed to push soldiers beyond their conventional limits. The program was the brainchild of Colonel Patricia Hawkins, a decorated officer who believed that traditional military training sometimes failed to unlock soldiers' true potential. Colonel Hawkins had spent considerable time studying unconventional warfare and had noticed that some of the most effective soldiers she had encountered didn't fit typical military molds. Her experimental program aimed to identify and develop hidden strengths in soldiers who might be overlooked by standard evaluation methods. When she learned about Sarah's unusual situation, she saw an opportunity to test her theories about adaptive training approaches. The program began with a comprehensive evaluation period where soldiers underwent physical, psychological, and tactical assessments that went far beyond normal military testing. Sarah found herself participating in scenarios she had never encountered before. Problem-solving exercises under extreme time pressure, leadership challenges with deliberately inadequate resources, and survival simulations that tested creativity as much as endurance.
Surprisingly, she performed exceptionally well in most of these unconventional assessments.
Dr. Lisa Park, a military psychologist brought in to support Colonel Hawkins' program, spent considerable time interviewing Sarah about her sleep episodes. Unlike previous medical consultations that had focused on treating Sarah's condition as a disorder, Dr. Park approached it as a unique response pattern that might contain valuable information. She asked detailed questions about the specific circumstances that triggered Sarah's sleep episodes and began to identify patterns that previous evaluations had missed. The breakthrough came during a particularly intensive week of training exercises. Dr. Park had been observing Sarah closely and noticed that her sleep episodes occurred most frequently during exercises that emphasized individual performance and competition among soldiers. In contrast, Sarah remained alert and engaged during collaborative exercises, where success depended on teamwork and collective problem-solving. This observation led to a new understanding of Sarah's condition as potentially related to performance anxiety, rather than a simple sleep disorder. Sarah's sleep episodes weren't random or purely stress-related. They appeared to be triggered specifically by situations where she felt isolated responsibility for outcomes, especially when being evaluated or compared to other soldiers. In team-based scenarios where success was shared and failure was collective, Sarah demonstrated excellent focus and stamina. This insight suggested that her condition might be manageable through different approaches to task assignment and team structure. Colonel Hawkins decided to test this theory during a complex multi-day exercise that simulated urban warfare scenarios. Instead of assigning Sarah to individual observation posts or solo responsibilities, she placed her in roles that emphasized coordination and support for team objectives. Sarah was assigned to serve as a communications coordinator, responsible for maintaining contact between different squad elements and ensuring information flowed effectively throughout the unit.
The results were remarkable.
Throughout the 5-day exercise, Sarah remained alert and engaged, demonstrating exceptional ability to track multiple conversations simultaneously, identify critical information, and coordinate complex logistics under pressure. Her performance was so strong that other soldiers began seeking her input on tactical decisions, recognizing her ability to maintain situational awareness across multiple fronts. For the first time in her military career, Sarah felt like she was contributing meaningfully to mission success. Building on this success, Dr. Religionata Park worked with Sarah to develop strategies for managing her anxiety in individual performance situations. They practiced relaxation techniques specifically designed for high-pressure moments, developed mental exercises for maintaining focus during solo assignments, and explored ways to reframe competitive situations as opportunities for personal growth, rather than tests of worth. The work was intensive and sometimes emotionally challenging, but Sarah was committed to the process. Lieutenant Marcus Thompson, a veteran officer assigned to Colonel Hawkins' experimental program, became an unexpected mentor for Sarah. Lieutenant Thompson had his own history of overcoming challenges in the military. Having recovered from a serious injury that had nearly ended his career, he understood the frustration of being seen as a liability and the determination required to prove oneself worthy of trust and responsibility. Lieutenant Thompson introduced Sarah to advanced tactical training that emphasized adaptability and creative problem-solving. These exercises were designed to build confidence in unpredictable situations and to demonstrate that military effectiveness could take many different forms. Sarah discovered that she had an intuitive understanding of complex tactical situations and could often identify solutions that weren't immediately obvious to other soldiers. As spring arrived, Sarah's transformation was becoming apparent to everyone in her unit. Her sleep episodes had become infrequent and were now limited to very specific high-stress situations that she and Dr. Park had learned to identify and manage proactively. More importantly, Sarah had developed new skills and confidence that made her a valuable team member, in ways that went beyond simply staying awake during exercises. The improvement in Sarah's performance coincided with her company receiving new orders. They were assigned to participate in a joint training exercise with Special Operations Forces, including elements from the Navy SEALs, Army Rangers, and Air Force Special Tactics. The exercise, codenamed Operation Iron Eagle, was designed to test conventional forces' ability to support and integrate with elite units during complex missions. For Sarah, the opportunity to work with Special Operations Forces represented both excitement and anxiety. These were the most highly trained and elite soldiers in the military, and she knew their standards would be demanding. At the same time, she was eager to test her newly developed skills and confidence against the highest level of military training. Dr. Park helped her prepare mentally for the challenge, focusing on techniques for managing pressure and maintaining focus. The Special Operations Forces arrived at the base in late March, bringing with them an intensity and professionalism that was immediately apparent to all the conventional soldiers. Among them was Commander Jake Sullivan, a Navy SEAL with 15 years of experience in special operations. Commander Sullivan had a reputation for being demanding but fair, and for his ability to identify potential in soldiers that others might overlook. Commander Sullivan's initial briefing to the conventional forces was unlike anything Sarah had experienced. He spoke about the importance of adaptability, the value of diverse skills and perspectives, and the reality that special operations success often depended on effective integration with conventional forces. His message was that every soldier brought unique capabilities to the team, and the challenge was to identify and maximize those capabilities under pressure. The joint training began with team formation exercises where special operations personnel were mixed with conventional soldiers to create integrated units. Sarah found herself assigned to a team led by Sergeant First Class Maria Rodriguez, a Rangers veteran, and including 2 other conventional soldiers and 1 Navy SEAL petty officer. The team dynamics were complex, with different training backgrounds and experience levels, but the diversity also created opportunities for innovative approaches. Sarah's team was assigned to conduct reconnaissance and surveillance missions in heavily wooded terrain, gathering intelligence for simulated strike operations. The missions required extended periods of observation, precise communication protocols, and the ability to remain undetected while tracking simulated enemy movements. These were exactly the kinds of individual responsibility situations that had previously triggered Sarah's sleep episodes. However, the team structure and approach that Commander Sullivan had established created a different environment than Sarah had experienced in previous exercises. Rather than assigning individual sectors to monitor, the team worked collaboratively, with each member contributing to collective observation and analysis. Sarah found that her ability to process multiple information streams simultaneously made her particularly valuable in coordinating the team's intelligence gathering. During the first week of joint training, Sarah's team consistently outperformed expectations, gathering detailed intelligence and maintaining communication discipline under challenging conditions. Commander Sullivan took notice of their success and began observing their operations more closely. He was particularly interested in understanding how conventional soldiers adapted to special operations methodologies and standards. Commander Sullivan's observation of Sarah revealed capabilities that hadn't been fully recognized in her previous training. Her ability to remain calm under pressure, process complex information quickly, and coordinate multiple communication channels simultaneously were exactly the kinds of skills that Special Operations Forces valued highly. He began to see potential in Sarah that went far beyond simply staying awake during exercises. The turning point came during a particularly challenging night exercise that simulated a high-stakes reconnaissance mission behind enemy lines. Sarah's team was tasked with gathering intelligence on a heavily defended position and coordinating with strike teams for a simulated assault. The mission required 12 hours of continuous observation and communication under conditions designed to test soldiers' limits. As the night progressed and fatigue set in for the entire team, Sarah found herself naturally taking on more coordination responsibilities. Her teammates began relying on her ability to track multiple conversations, maintain situational awareness across different fronts, and identify patterns in enemy movement that others might miss. Rather than becoming drowsy as the night wore on, Sarah seemed to become more focused and effective. Commander Sullivan monitored the mission from the command post and was impressed by the quality of intelligence and coordination coming from Sarah's team. When he reviewed the recordings of their communications, he noticed that much of the most valuable information and tactical insight was coming from Sarah herself. Her ability to synthesize information from multiple sources and identify tactical implications was remarkable for a conventional soldier. After the exercise concluded, Commander Sullivan requested a private meeting with Sarah. The conversation would prove to be a pivotal moment in her military career and the beginning of a transformation that no one had anticipated. Commander Sullivan had spent his career identifying and developing exceptional soldiers, and he recognized something special in Sarah's performance that others had missed. The meeting took place in Commander Sullivan's temporary office, a simple room that reflected the functional approach that Special Operations Forces brought to everything they did. Sarah entered the room feeling nervous, but also curious about what the SEAL commander wanted to discuss. She had noticed his attention during the recent exercises but wasn't sure what to expect from a direct conversation. Commander Sullivan's opening comments surprised Sarah. Rather than focusing on her past challenges or sleep episodes, he immediately addressed her recent performance and the capabilities she had demonstrated during the joint training. He explained that he had been watching her work for several weeks and was impressed by skills that seemed naturally suited to special operations requirements. The conversation revealed that Commander Sullivan had a different perspective on Sarah's unusual sleep patterns than any of her previous superiors or medical consultants. He saw her condition not as a disorder to be cured, but as a symptom of being placed in roles that didn't match her natural capabilities and strengths. He believed that the right environment and responsibilities could eliminate the problem entirely while maximizing her potential. Commander Sullivan explained that Special Operations Forces had learned to value diverse skill sets and unconventional capabilities. The most effective Special Operations teams included individuals with different strengths who could adapt to various mission requirements. Sarah's combination of analytical skills, communication abilities, and collaborative instincts represented exactly the kind of capabilities that Special Operations units needed, but sometimes struggled to find. As their conversation continued, Commander Sullivan outlined a possibility that Sarah had never considered. He was authorized to recommend exceptional conventional soldiers for advanced training programs that could lead to special operations assignments. Based on her performance during the joint exercises, he believed Sarah had the potential to succeed in roles that would challenge her in entirely new ways while utilizing her natural strengths. The opportunity was both exciting and intimidating for Sarah. Special operations training was famously demanding, and the failure rate was high even for soldiers who had never experienced her particular challenges. At the same time, Commander Sullivan's confidence in her abilities was unlike anything she had experienced from previous superiors. For the first time, someone was seeing her sleep episodes not as a disqualifying weakness, but as a sign that she hadn't found her proper role. Sarah left the meeting with a decision to make that would determine the direction of her military career. Commander Sullivan had given her a week to consider his recommendation and decide whether she wanted to pursue the opportunity for special operations training. The choice represented a dramatic departure from the conventional military path she had been following and a chance to discover capabilities she didn't know she possessed. The week that Commander Sullivan gave Sarah to consider his recommendation felt like the longest 7 days of her life. Every morning she woke with the weight of a decision that could transform everything about her military career, and every evening she went to bed with questions still swirling in her mind. The opportunity was unprecedented, but it also represented a massive leap into unknown territory that carried significant risks alongside its potential rewards. Sarah spent hours walking the base perimeter during her off-duty time, trying to process the magnitude of what Commander Sullivan was offering. Special operations training wasn't just another military school or advanced course. It was a complete transformation that would test every aspect of her physical, mental, and emotional capabilities. The training programs had legendary difficulty levels, and even soldiers with perfect records sometimes failed to meet the demanding standards required for graduation. Park provided valuable perspective during their continued counseling sessions. She helped Sarah understand that her sleep episodes had been symptoms of a mismatch between her capabilities and her assigned roles, rather than fundamental limitations that would prevent her from succeeding in more suitable positions. The joint training exercises had demonstrated that Sarah possessed exactly the kinds of analytical and coordination skills that Special Operations Forces valued most highly. Lieutenant Thompson offered practical advice based on his own experience with career transitions in the military. He reminded Sarah that opportunities for special operations training were extremely rare for conventional soldiers, and that Commander Sullivan's recommendation represented recognition of exceptional potential. At the same time, he emphasized that the decision had to be based on Sarah's own assessment of her readiness and commitment to the demanding path ahead. Sarah's family provided emotional support but ultimately encouraged her to trust her own judgment about the opportunity. Her parents recognized that their daughter had been struggling to find her place in conventional military roles, and that this chance might represent the breakthrough she needed. Her brother David expressed complete confidence in her abilities and reminded her that she had already overcome challenges that would have defeated many other people. The decision became clear during a conversation with Captain Wheeler, who had initially been prepared to transfer Sarah to support roles due to her sleep episodes. Captain Wheeler admitted that he had been surprised by Sarah's transformation during the experimental training program and her exceptional performance during the joint exercises. He told Sarah that if she chose to pursue special operations training, she would have his complete support and recommendation. On Friday afternoon of her decision week, Sarah requested a meeting with Commander Sullivan to accept his recommendation. The meeting was brief but significant, with Commander Sullivan explaining the next steps in the application and selection process. He warned her that accepting his recommendation was only the beginning, and that the actual training would test her resolve in ways she couldn't yet imagine.
At the same time, he expressed confidence that she had the fundamental qualities needed to succeed.
The Special Operations selection process began immediately with extensive medical and psychological evaluations designed to identify potential issues that could interfere with training or operational effectiveness. Sarah underwent tests that examined everything from cardiovascular fitness and injury history to stress response patterns and cognitive capabilities. The evaluations were more comprehensive than anything she'd experienced in conventional military medicine. Dr. 1. Amanda Forster, the special operations psychologist who conducted Sarah's evaluation, was particularly interested in her sleep episodes and the circumstances that had triggered them. Unlike previous evaluations that had focused on the episodes as problematic symptoms, Dr. Foster examined them as information about Sarah's stress response patterns and environmental preferences. Her analysis supported Commander Sullivan's assessment that Sarah's challenges had resulted from role mismatches rather than fundamental limitations. The physical fitness requirements for special operations training were substantially more demanding than conventional military standards. Sarah began an intensive conditioning program designed to prepare her for the challenges ahead. The training included advanced cardiovascular exercises, strength-building routines, and endurance activities that pushed her beyond anything she had previously experienced. The physical preparation was grueling, but Sarah found that her body responded well to the increased demands. Master Sergeant Robert Chen, a special operations instructor assigned to help Sarah prepare for training, introduced her to mental conditioning techniques used by elite military units. These exercises focused on building resilience under pressure, maintaining focus during extended operations, and developing confidence in high-stakes situations. The mental training was as demanding as the physical preparation and required Sarah to confront psychological barriers she hadn't previously recognized. As spring turned to summer, Sarah's preparation intensified in anticipation of beginning formal special operations training in the fall. Her daily routine included pre-dawn physical training, afternoon tactical exercises, evening classroom instruction, and weekend field exercises that simulated special operations conditions. The schedule was exhausting, but Sarah discovered reserves of energy and determination that surprised even her. The transformation in Sarah's reputation throughout the base was dramatic. Soldiers who had previously known her as the person who fell asleep during exercises now watched her completing advanced training that most of them wouldn't attempt. Her success became a source of inspiration for other soldiers who had faced their own challenges and setbacks. Sarah found herself in the unusual position of being asked for advice by peers who were dealing with their own military difficulties. Commander Sullivan continued to monitor Sarah's progress and provide guidance throughout her preparation period. His approach was demanding but supportive, offering correction when necessary while acknowledging her achievements as she met each new challenge. He explained that special operations training would require her to exceed her current capabilities in every area, but that her preparation was progressing exactly as he had hoped. The summer included several field exercises designed to simulate special operations missions and evaluate Sarah's readiness for formal training. These exercises were conducted in challenging environments that tested her ability to perform under conditions similar to those she would face in actual special operations work. Sarah's performance during these preparatory missions exceeded expectations and confirmed Commander Sullivan's assessment of her potential. One particularly challenging exercise involved a week-long mission in desert conditions that required Sarah to demonstrate navigation skills, survival capabilities, and mission planning abilities under extreme environmental stress. The exercise pushed participants to their physical and mental limits while evaluating their ability to maintain effectiveness when resources were limited and conditions were harsh. Sarah not only completed the exercise successfully, but emerged as one of the top performers among the participants. The success during desert training represented a turning point in Sarah's confidence about her readiness for special operations training. The exercise had included exactly the kinds of individual responsibility and high-pressure evaluation situations that had previously triggered her sleep episodes, but she had remained focused and effective throughout the week. The achievement demonstrated that her previous challenges had indeed been overcome through proper preparation and role alignment. As summer concluded, Sarah received official notification that her application for special operations training had been accepted and that she would begin the program in September. The news marked the culmination of months of preparation and the beginning of the most challenging phase of her military career. Commander Sullivan congratulated her on reaching this milestone, but reminded her that acceptance was only the first step in a journey that would test every aspect of her capabilities. The weeks leading up to the start of special operations training were filled with final preparations and anticipation. Sarah completed advanced medical clearances, updated her training records, and received briefings about what to expect during the initial phases of the program. The administrative processes were routine, but they represented concrete steps toward a goal that had seemed impossible just months earlier. Dr. Park conducted a final counseling session with Sarah before her departure for special operations training. Their conversation focused on the psychological tools and techniques Sarah had developed during her preparation and how to apply them during the intensive training ahead. Dr. Park expressed confidence that Sarah had developed the mental resilience needed to succeed in the demanding environment she was about to enter. Sarah's family visited the base during her final week before beginning special operations training. The visit provided an opportunity to celebrate her achievements and offer encouragement for the challenges ahead. Her parents expressed pride in her transformation and determination, while her brother David marveled at how much his sister had changed since their conversation during her period of uncertainty. The family support meant everything to Sarah as she prepared for the next phase of her journey. Lieutenant Thompson organized a farewell gathering for Sarah that included members of her original company as well as personnel from the experimental training program. The event provided an opportunity for colleagues to express their appreciation for Sarah's transformation and wish her success in special operations training. Several soldiers mentioned that her example had inspired them to reconsider their own limitations and pursue opportunities they hadn't previously thought possible. Captain Wheeler offered final words of encouragement that reflected his own transformation from being skeptical about Sarah's potential to becoming one of her strongest supporters. He reminded her that she had already proven her ability to overcome significant challenges and that special operations training would simply be another opportunity to demonstrate her capabilities. His confidence provided additional motivation as Sarah prepared for the journey ahead. Commander Sullivan conducted a final meeting with Sarah before her departure for special operations training. Their conversation focused on practical advice for succeeding during the initial phases of the program and maintaining perspective during the most challenging moments. He reminded her that she possessed unique capabilities that would serve her well in special operations roles, and that the training was designed to develop those capabilities rather than eliminate them. The night before leaving for special operations training, Sarah reflected on the extraordinary journey that had brought her to this point. Less than a year earlier, she had been facing possible transfer to support roles due to her inability to stay awake during combat exercises. Now she was preparing to begin training for some of the most demanding and prestigious roles in the military. The transformation seemed almost impossible, but it had been achieved through determination, proper guidance, and the recognition that her challenges had been symptoms of untapped potential rather than fundamental limitations. Sarah packed her equipment and prepared for departure with a mixture of excitement and nervousness that felt appropriate for the magnitude of what lay ahead. Special operations training would test her in ways she couldn't yet fully comprehend, but she had developed confidence in her ability to meet challenges that had once seemed insurmountable. The sleeping soldier was about to discover capabilities she had never imagined she possessed. As dawn broke on the day of her departure, Sarah took a final walk around the base where her transformation had begun. The familiar surroundings looked different now, seen through the perspective of someone who had fundamentally changed her understanding of her own potential. She thought about the sleep episodes that had once defined her reputation and realized that they had ultimately led her to opportunities that wouldn't have been possible through conventional military pathways. The bus that would take her to special operations training arrived precisely on schedule, reflecting the precision and attention to detail that characterized everything about elite military units. Sarah boarded with her equipment and took a window seat that provided a final view of the base where she had discovered her true capabilities. As the bus pulled away, she felt ready for whatever challenges and opportunities awaited her in the demanding world of special operations. The Special Operations Training Facility at Coronado, California, looked nothing like the conventional military bases where Sarah had spent her career. The buildings were functional and understated, designed for efficiency rather than appearance. More importantly, the atmosphere was different. There was an intensity and purpose that seemed to permeate everything, from the way personnel moved between buildings to the tone of conversations in the dining facility. Sarah could feel that she had entered a completely different level of military training. Her arrival coincided with the beginning of a new training cycle for potential special operations personnel. The group included soldiers from various military backgrounds, each selected for specific capabilities and potential for elite operations. Some were veterans with multiple deployments. Others were younger soldiers who had demonstrated exceptional abilities early in their careers. Sarah was one of only 3 women in the training class, and the only one who had been recommended specifically for her analytical and coordination capabilities. The first week of training focused on establishing baseline capabilities and introducing candidates to special operations standards. The physical requirements were immediately apparent as more demanding than anything Sarah had experienced. Morning physical training began before dawn and included exercises designed to test endurance, strength, and mental toughness simultaneously. The workouts were not just about fitness. They were designed to identify how candidates responded to stress and whether they could maintain effectiveness when pushed beyond their comfort zones. Master Chief Petty Officer Samuel Rodriguez led the training cadre and set the tone for everything that would follow. His approach was demanding but fair, with clear expectations and immediate feedback about performance. Master Chief Rodriguez had spent 20 years in special operations and possessed an intuitive ability to identify potential in candidates while recognizing those who weren't suited for elite roles. His evaluation of Sarah during the first week would prove crucial to her continued participation in the program. The academic component of training introduced Sarah to planning methodologies, operational procedures, and tactical concepts that were far more sophisticated than conventional military education. Special operations required personnel to think strategically while executing tactically, often in situations where conventional rules and procedures didn't apply. The classroom instruction was intensive and required students to process complex information quickly, while developing innovative solutions to challenging scenarios. Sarah discovered that her background in communications and coordination provided an unexpected advantage in special operations training. Many of the tactical challenges required precisely the kinds of skills she had developed during her preparation period. Tracking multiple information sources simultaneously, maintaining situational awareness across complex operations, and coordinating activities among diverse team members. Skills that had been viewed as unusual in conventional military settings were recognized as valuable assets in special operations training. The first major challenge came during the second week of training, with an exercise designed to test candidates' ability to perform under extreme pressure while maintaining attention to detail. The scenario involved planning and executing a simulated rescue operation with multiple variables and time constraints that required split-second decision-making. Candidates were evaluated not just on their final performance, but on their planning process, adaptability, and leadership under pressure. Sarah's team was assigned one of the most complex scenarios in the exercise, involving coordination between multiple elements in an urban environment with simulated civilian populations and time-sensitive objectives. The planning phase required detailed analysis of intelligence, careful coordination of resources, and development of contingency plans for various possible complications. Sarah found herself naturally taking on coordination responsibilities that her teammates recognized as crucial to mission success. During the execution phase of the exercise, Sarah's team encountered several unexpected complications that tested their ability to adapt their plans in real time. Rather than becoming overwhelmed by the changing circumstances, Sarah seemed to thrive on the complexity and demonstrated exceptional ability to process new information and communicate changes to team members. Her performance during the exercise exceeded the expectations of instructors who had been monitoring her progress. Master Chief Rodriguez noted Sarah's performance during the exercise and scheduled a private evaluation to discuss her progress and potential for continued training.
The conversation was significant because it represented the first formal assessment of her suitability for special operations roles.
Master Chief Rodriguez's evaluation would heavily influence decisions about her advancement to more advanced phases of training. The meeting revealed that Sarah's transformation had been more complete than even she had realized. Master Chief Rodriguez explained that her performance during the first 2 weeks had been consistently strong across all evaluation criteria. More importantly, he had observed that she demonstrated natural leadership abilities and tactical instincts that couldn't be taught through conventional training. Her combination of analytical skills and practical execution made her a valuable addition to any special operations team. However, Master Chief Rodriguez also explained that the training would become significantly more challenging as it progressed. The initial weeks were designed to establish baseline capabilities, but the advanced phases would test candidates in ways that eliminated most participants. Physical demands would increase, tactical scenarios would become more complex, and the psychological pressure would intensify. Only candidates with exceptional dedication and capabilities would successfully complete the full program. Sarah's preparation during the summer had equipped her well for the physical demands of special operations training. Her conditioning program had built the endurance and strength needed to meet the demanding physical standards, and her body adapted quickly to the increased training load. More importantly, her mental conditioning had prepared her to maintain focus and effectiveness even when physically exhausted, which proved crucial during extended exercises. The third week of training introduced advanced tactical exercises that required candidates to demonstrate proficiency with specialized equipment and techniques. Sarah learned advanced communication systems, sophisticated planning tools, and tactical procedures that were far more complex than conventional military operations. The learning curve was steep, but her background in communication coordination provided a foundation that helped her master the new systems quickly. One particular exercise during the third week tested candidates' ability to maintain operation security while coordinating complex missions with multiple moving parts. The scenario required precise timing, detailed communication protocols, and the ability to adapt plans based on changing intelligence. Sarah's performance during this exercise was exceptional, demonstrating that her analytical capabilities could be applied effectively in high-stakes operational environments. The psychological aspects of special operations training became more apparent as the program progressed. Instructors used various techniques to test candidates' resilience, including sleep deprivation, time pressure, and scenarios designed to create stress and uncertainty. These challenges were designed to identify candidates who could maintain effectiveness under the extreme conditions they might encounter in actual operations. Surprisingly, Sarah found that the psychological challenges of special operations training were less difficult for her than they were for many other candidates. Her experience with managing stress and maintaining focus during her preparation period had equipped her with mental tools that proved valuable during the most demanding phases of training. The techniques Dr. Park had taught her for managing anxiety and maintaining concentration served her well during exercises specifically designed to test psychological resilience. The fourth week marked a significant milestone in the training program with a comprehensive evaluation exercise that tested all the skills candidates had developed during their initial month. The exercise lasted 72 hours and required continuous operations with minimal sleep, complex decision-making under pressure, and demonstration of leadership capabilities in challenging circumstances. The exercise was designed to simulate the demands of actual special operations missions and identify candidates ready for advanced training. Sarah's team was assigned a mission that required them to gather intelligence, coordinate with multiple supporting elements, and execute a simulated operation in hostile territory. The scenario included numerous complications and variables that tested their ability to adapt plans in real time while maintaining operational security and mission focus. The exercise pushed all participants to their limits and provided a realistic assessment of their readiness for more advanced training. During the 72-hour exercise, Sarah discovered capabilities she hadn't known she possessed. The combination of physical demands, mental challenges, and leadership responsibilities seemed to bring out her best performance rather than overwhelm her abilities. She found that she could maintain focus and effectiveness even during the most demanding phases of the exercise, and her teammates began relying on her judgment and coordination skills for mission success. The exercise concluded with a comprehensive debriefing where instructors provided detailed feedback about each candidate's performance. Sarah's evaluation was overwhelmingly positive, with particular praise for her leadership abilities, analytical skills, and performance under pressure. Master Chief Rodriguez noted that her transformation from her initial military challenges to her current capabilities was one of the most remarkable he had witnessed during his career as an instructor. Following the successful completion of the initial training phase, Sarah was selected to continue to advance special operations training. The selection represented recognition that she possessed the fundamental capabilities needed for elite military roles, and that her previous challenges had been completely overcome through proper training and role alignment. Only half of the original training class was selected for advancement, making Sarah's inclusion a significant achievement. The advanced training phase introduced Sarah to specialized roles within special operations teams and provided intensive instruction in the specific capabilities she would be expected to contribute during actual missions. Her background in communication and coordination led to specialization in areas that were crucial to special operations success, but often overlooked in conventional military training. She learned advanced intelligence analysis, sophisticated communication techniques, and coordination methodologies used in the most sensitive operations. Commander Sullivan visited the training facility during Sarah's 6th week and observed her participation in an advanced exercise. His presence provided an opportunity to assess her progress since beginning the program and evaluate whether his initial assessment of her potential had been accurate. The observation confirmed that Sarah had not only met the challenges of special operations training, but had excelled in ways that exceeded even his optimistic expectations. During a brief meeting following the exercise, Commander Sullivan expressed satisfaction with Sarah's progress and explained that her success was attracting attention from special operations leadership. Her combination of analytical capabilities, leadership skills, and proven performance under pressure made her a candidate for roles that were typically reserved for the most experienced special operations personnel. The recognition represented validation of the unconventional path that had brought her to this point. The 7th week of training included the most challenging exercise yet, designed to test candidates' ability to operate independently while maintaining coordination with larger operations. Sarah was assigned to lead a small team in a complex scenario that required sophisticated planning, precise execution, and adaptation to unexpected complications. The exercise was designed to evaluate her readiness for leadership responsibilities in actual special operations missions. Sarah's team faced a scenario that included multiple objectives, time constraints, and variables that required constant adaptation of their plans. The exercise tested not only their tactical capabilities, but also their ability to maintain morale and effectiveness when facing seemingly impossible challenges. Sarah's leadership during the exercise demonstrated that her transformation was complete and that she was ready for the responsibilities that came with special operations roles. The exercise concluded with recognition that Sarah had demonstrated exceptional leadership capabilities and tactical judgment under the most demanding conditions. Her performance established her as one of the top candidates in her training class and positioned her for assignment to elite special operations units upon graduation. The achievement represented a complete transformation from the soldier who had once struggled to stay awake during conventional exercises. As the advanced training phase neared completion, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point. The challenges that had once seemed like insurmountable obstacles had ultimately led to opportunities that exceeded her wildest dreams. Her sleep episodes, which had threatened to end her military career, had been the catalyst for discovering capabilities she never knew she possessed. The transformation was so complete that her former struggles seemed like they had happened to someone else entirely. Graduation from Special Operations training marked the beginning of a new chapter in Sarah Martinez's military career that would have been unimaginable just 18 months earlier. The ceremony was attended by family members, military leadership, and graduates' new unit commanders who would be responsible for their integration into operational teams. Sarah's parents, Maria and Carlos Martinez, watched with pride as their daughter received recognition as one of the top graduates in her training class and prepared to join an elite Special Operations unit. Sarah's assignment to Joint Special Operations Task Force Pacific represented the culmination of her transformation and the beginning of responsibilities that would test everything she had learned during her intensive training period. The task force conducted the most sensitive and challenging missions in the Pacific region, requiring personnel with exceptional capabilities and proven performance under the most demanding conditions. Sarah's selection for the unit reflected confidence in her abilities and recognition of the unique skills she brought to special operations work. Her first assignment with the task force involved integration training designed to familiarize new personnel with unit procedures, team dynamics, and operational standards. The training was conducted by veterans with extensive operational experience, who could evaluate new members' readiness for actual missions. Sarah worked with Master Sergeant Jennifer Kim, a decorated Special Operations veteran who had conducted missions throughout Asia and the Pacific region over the past decade. Master Sergeant Kim's evaluation of Sarah focused on practical application of her training in scenarios that closely replicated actual operational conditions. The exercises tested Sarah's ability to function effectively as part of an experienced team, while contributing her specialized capabilities to mission success. Her performance during integration training confirmed that her Special Operations training had prepared her well for the demands of operational assignments. The task force's operational tempo was unlike anything Sarah had experienced during training. Real missions involved higher stakes, more complex variables, and the constant awareness that their actions had genuine consequences for national security and human lives. Sarah found that the transition from training scenarios to actual operations required mental adjustments that went beyond technical skills and tactical procedures. Her first operational assignment involved supporting a sensitive intelligence gathering mission in the South China Sea region. Sarah's role focused on communication, coordination, and intelligence analysis, responsibilities that utilized her specialized training while allowing her to gain experience with operational procedures. The mission required her to maintain communication links between multiple elements while processing and analyzing intelligence in real time. The operation lasted 2 weeks and required Sarah to demonstrate all the capabilities she had developed during her training and preparation. She worked 18-hour days coordinating communications, analyzing intelligence, and supporting decision-making for the operational team. The mission's success depended heavily on the quality of coordination and analysis that Sarah provided, making her contributions crucial to achieving the team's objectives. During the operation, Sarah faced several challenging situations that tested her ability to perform under pressure while maintaining the high standards expected in special operations work. Equipment failures, communication difficulties, and rapidly changing tactical situations required her to adapt quickly while maintaining effectiveness. Her performance during these critical moments demonstrated that her training had prepared her well for the realities of operational assignments. The mission concluded successfully, with valuable intelligence gathered and all personnel returning safely. Sarah's contributions were recognized by the team leadership as exceptional for someone on her first operational assignment. Her ability to maintain effectiveness during extended operations while managing complex communication and analysis requirements impressed veterans who had worked with many new special operations personnel over their careers. Following the successful completion of her first mission, Sarah was assigned to increasingly complex and sensitive operations that tested her capabilities and expanded her experience base. Each mission provided opportunities to apply her training in different contexts while developing expertise in specialized areas of special operations work. Her reputation within the task force grew as her contributions to mission success became consistently valuable. One particularly challenging assignment involved supporting a humanitarian rescue operation in a politically sensitive region where conventional military intervention wasn't possible. The mission required careful coordination between multiple agencies, precise timing, and the ability to adapt to rapidly changing circumstances. Sarah's role involved managing communication between various elements while providing analytical support for real-time decision-making. The humanitarian mission presented unique challenges that went beyond typical military operations. The team had to balance operational security with humanitarian objectives while working in an environment where political considerations affected every decision. Sarah's analytical capabilities proved particularly valuable in helping the team navigate the complex variables and maintain focus on their primary objectives while managing secondary concerns. The operation's success resulted in the safe evacuation of personnel who had been in danger, but it also demonstrated the complexity of special operations work in contemporary global security environments. Sarah's performance during the mission established her as a trusted member of the team and led to assignments involving even greater responsibility and sensitivity. Commander Sullivan, who had been monitoring Sarah's progress since her graduation from Special Operations training, visited the task force headquarters during her 4th month of operational assignments. His assessment of her development confirmed that his initial evaluation of her potential had been accurate and that her transformation had exceeded even his optimistic expectations. Sarah had not only adapted successfully to special operations work, but had become one of the unit's most valuable analysts and coordinators. During their meeting, Commander Sullivan explained that Sarah's success was attracting attention throughout the special operations community. Her combination of analytical capabilities, operational performance, and leadership potential made her a candidate for advanced training opportunities and specialized roles that were typically reserved for personnel with much more experience. The recognition represented validation of the unconventional path that had led to her current position. Sarah's 6th month with the task force included participation in a complex joint operation involving multiple special operations units from different services. The mission required unprecedented coordination between various elements while maintaining operational security and achieving time-sensitive objectives. Sarah's role involved serving as the primary communication coordinator for the entire operation, a responsibility typically assigned to much more senior personnel. The joint operation tested Sarah's capabilities in new ways as she managed communication and coordination responsibilities for dozens of personnel across multiple locations. The complexity of the operation required her to process vast amounts of information simultaneously while maintaining situational awareness and providing analytical support for operational decisions. Her performance during the mission exceeded expectations and demonstrated her readiness for even greater responsibilities. The operation's success was attributed in significant part to the quality of coordination and analysis that Sarah provided throughout the complex mission. Her ability to manage multiple communication channels while maintaining operational security and providing valuable tactical insights impressed senior leadership from all participating units. The recognition led to discussions about advancing her to leadership positions much earlier than typical career progression would suggest. As Sarah approached her 1st anniversary with the Special Operations Task Force, she reflected on the extraordinary transformation that had occurred since Commander Sullivan first recognized her potential during joint training exercises. The soldier who had once struggled to stay awake during conventional military exercises was now trusted with the most sensitive and challenging missions conducted by elite military units. The transformation had been possible through a combination of factors: recognition of her unique capabilities, proper training and preparation, assignment to roles that utilized her strengths, and the mentorship of leaders who understood how to develop unconventional talent. Sarah's success demonstrated that military effectiveness could take many different forms, and that individuals who didn't fit conventional molds might possess capabilities that were particularly valuable in specialized roles. Her experience also highlighted the importance of looking beyond surface-level performance issues to identify underlying potential in military personnel. Sarah's sleep episodes had been symptoms of role mismatch rather than fundamental limitations, and addressing the underlying causes had unlocked capabilities that exceeded expectations. The lesson had implications for how the military evaluated and developed personnel who faced similar challenges. Master Sergeant Kim approached Sarah with news that would represent another significant milestone in her career development. Based on her exceptional performance during her 1st year with the task force, she had been selected for advanced leadership training that would prepare her for team leadership responsibilities. The opportunity was unprecedented for someone with her relatively limited special operations experience, but her demonstrated capabilities justified the accelerated development.
The advanced leadership training would be conducted over a 6-month period and would prepare Sarah for responsibilities that included planning and leading special operations missions.
The training represented the ultimate validation of her transformation and positioned her for roles that would influence the direction of special operations work in the Pacific region. Her selection for the program confirmed that her journey from struggling conventional soldier to elite special operations leader was complete. Sarah's family visited the base to celebrate her selection for advanced leadership training and reflect on the remarkable journey that had brought her to this point. The visit provided an opportunity to share stories about her experiences and discuss the future opportunities that lay ahead. Her parents expressed amazement at the transformation their daughter had achieved, and pride in the recognition she had earned through her dedication and performance.
During the family visit, Sarah received a message from Dr.
Park, who had been following her career development since their work together during her preparation period. Dr. Park expressed satisfaction that their collaborative efforts had contributed to Sarah's success and noted that her case had become a model for helping other military personnel overcome similar challenges. Sarah's transformation had influenced approaches to identifying and developing unconventional talent throughout the military. Commander Sullivan made a final visit to congratulate Sarah on her selection for advanced leadership training and reflect on her development since their first meeting. He explained that her success had exceeded his most optimistic expectations and that she had become an example of the potential that could be unlocked through proper recognition and development of unique capabilities. Her story had influenced special operations recruitment and development practices throughout the military. As Sarah prepared for advanced leadership training, she looked forward to new challenges and opportunities that would continue her transformation from conventional soldier to special operations leader. The journey that had begun with sleep episodes during combat exercises had led to recognition as one of the most promising young leaders in elite military units. The sleeping soldier had awakened to discover capabilities that would influence special operations work for years to come. The final entry in Sarah's training records noted that her development represented a successful example of identifying and nurturing unconventional talent in military personnel. Her case had demonstrated that individuals who struggled in conventional roles might possess exactly the capabilities needed for specialized assignments. The transformation from liability to asset had been complete, and Sarah Martinez had become living proof that potential could be found in the most unexpected places. Years later, when Sarah had become a senior special operations leader responsible for identifying and developing talent in new personnel, she would often think about the journey that had brought her to that position. She would remember falling asleep during combat exercises and wondering if she had a future in the military. She would recall Commander Sullivan's recognition of her potential and the training that had unlocked capabilities she never knew she possessed. Most importantly, she would remember that the greatest transformations often begin with what appear to be the greatest weaknesses, and that every soldier deserves the chance to discover their true potential.